Hi folks, this is all the fruit, and look at those beautiful lipstick fruit. They look almost like rambutans. Well, they are hairy and rambut means hair, so of course they look like rambutans. Like the standard red rambutans. If you look closely, there are also a couple shrubs with yellow rambutans. So they look like red and yellow rambutans. The beautiful pink flowers, and of course when they start rotting they look like rotten rambutans. And they have one more thing in common with rambutans, but we'll come to this later. First, what is lipstick fruit? Oh, look at that giant wood bee. This is a bee, right? Not a beetle. Oh yeah, giant bee. Well, here in the tropics most things are slightly bigger. I'm in Tedum Agricultural Park in Sabah, one of the most amazing botanic gardens of Southeast Asia. If you are in Sabah or anywhere in Borneo, come and visit it. So about the lipstick fruit. What's the lipstick fruit? Well, you maybe have heard the name Redskins. Not the sports team, but a slightly antiquated way to name the Native Americans. Well, when I was little we had only black and white TV, so I was told that yeah, they really have red skin, those Indians as we called them back then. And folks, can you imagine my disappointment when I first saw a movie on a color TV and those Native Americans, they were not red. They were brown, just like our farmers, or our Roma fellow citizens, or some of our Turkish fellow citizens, or like myself after a prolonged summer holiday. Well, later, I saw a couple really red Indians or Native Americans in movies and books. And I found out, yes, some of them really have bright red skin. How come they have bright red skin? Well, they use Annatto or lipstick fruit. This fruit is not only brightly colored, but when you pop it open, it is filled with some, well, let's pop open this one. When you fill it, when you open it, you see it's filled with those reddish seeds. They are not as red as the outside, but they are quite reddish on the outside, the seeds. And when you touch and squeeze them a little bit, you realize that the outer layer releases a red paint. This red paint is actually quite resilient, quite long-lasting. Well, the Native Americans used to paint themselves with it. Why? Well, first it was considered quite beautiful. Oh, here is the giant bee again. It was considered quite beautiful by them. Nice red skin. Also, it was scaring their enemies because red is the color of blood and mutilation. And then, of course, it worked very well as a sunscreen. A lot of those Native Americans, especially the ones who lived in the rainforest, they had very pale skin. And staying for a whole day in the sun in a canoe on a river can give you a horrible sunburn. Here I'm in Borneo, and a lot of those people from the hills like Orang Ulu or Orang Murut or Orang Bidayun, they are quite pale and they are getting sunburned regularly, despite the fact that their ancestors have lived for thousands of years in the tropics. So, in tropical America, they used this, the Native Americans used this also as sunscreen. Well, nowadays, few people paint themselves red except for carnival in some Latin American towns. I've seen this in Guadeloupe. But nowadays, Annatto is used to painting a lot of different things. Well, lipstick fruit, yeah, it has been used for lipstick. It is still used for lipstick. It's also an edible fruit. The paint, the dye, basically has a taste of mild paprika. Yep. It's similar to paprika also. This particular plant It's also a bit lemony with a hint of bitter. So this is like curcuma, a very colorful spice which also adds some taste. So it's used as a paprika substitute, and it's also used to color a lot of things. Well, paprika is colorful and spicy. The stuff is more colorful than paprika, it may be slightly less spicy. It's used, for example, to color the cheddar cheese. I wonder what type of milk they use for getting such an orange cheese. Well, the orange color is not from the milk, but from the annatto. Why am I telling you all this? I already made a video about the lipstick fruit. It might have been quite a confused video, but I already made a video about it. Why am I making a second video? Am I trying to inflate the number of my videos, or is there a proper reason for this? Well, the reason is the yellow lipstick fruit. You know, I like to experiment with fruit of different colors, because in some cases, fruit of the same species with different colors taste very differently, and sometimes they taste the same. As an example, grapes. Red grapes and white grapes, they belong to the same species. Basically, it's Vitis vinifera. But red grapes taste very different from white grapes, and red wine tastes very different from white wine. Same goes for cherries. Red cherries taste very different from yellow cherries. Well, but then there are other plants. For example, the watermelon. Red watermelon to me tastes exactly like yellow watermelon. And also, what those fruit have in common with the lychees? They are red and yellow lychees. And the red and yellow lychees taste the same. Why do red and yellow lychees taste the same? It's quite easy to explain. Well, the red in the lychee is just on the outside. So when it loses this red dye, it doesn't do anything for the inside, for the aril, because the aril is pale white and translucent in the red and in the yellow lychee. How is it with the lipstick fruit? You saw the red lipstick fruit. Here is still the dye remaining from the red lipstick fruit. Well, when this... Oh, here is the bee again. When the lipstick fruit loses its color, I think this is some spontaneous mutation which somebody discovered and preserved as to have red and yellow lipstick fruit, because this is also a popular ornamental. Imagine, the plant is quite beautiful, the beautiful huge pink flowers, the beautiful red fruit, and having another version of this ornamental can be quite interesting. But now let's see. So the skin is very different in color. Also in this case the yellow variety has slightly bigger fruit. But let's look inside. Wow! The inside is still... Well, the arils, basically the arils surrounding the seeds, are still pale red. So it has lost the color in the outer rind, in the hairs, but not in the arils surrounding the seeds. See? The yellow lipstick fruit is still perfectly capable to serve as, well, as lipstick for painting yourselves and becoming a red skin and not getting sunburned, for painting cheddar cheese and a lot of other foodstuffs, and for selling it as a paprika substitute. Ain't that amazing, folks? The color change only affects the outside, but not the inside. I guess maybe the outside, the color of the outside is being catalyzed by a different enzyme, which has been turned inactive here. So the outside hairs and skin don't get red anymore, but the color on the inside of the arils must be, its production must be catalyzed by a different enzyme. So yellow lipstick fruit still has perfectly useful red dye around the seeds. Ain't that amazing? You think that there will be either some crazy yellow color in there, or maybe some boring colorless aril surrounding the seeds, but no. Despite the fact that the outer hair completely lost their red color, the inside is still perfectly red and useful as a dye. So folks, this was the comparison between the red and the yellow lipstick fruit or annatto. The reason Native Americans and cheddar cheese are red or orange. Stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos. Yep, this is an edible fruit, as I said. Stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos from the beautiful town of Tenom and the beautiful island of Borneo. And don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe.